Okay, we can start.
Shall I start?
Okay. Okay. Shall I start? Or,
So first I'll start, then I invite you.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to all, and welcome to this bootcamp of CSIR JIGYASA Epic Hackathon. I welcome all the esteemed panelists of the day and thank them for taking out time from their busy schedules to help out the students and give them the right direction. I also welcome all the school students, teachers, CSIR scientists, and others who have joined us online from across India. As you all might know, CSIR Jigyasa has launched EPIC program for school students on 5th of Jan 2024, providing a platform to the budding student scientists to develop their novel ideas. The first boot camp of the EPIC program was organized on 16th January 2024. The videos of the entire session are there on Jigyasa Virtual Lab platform. Students can have an access to them whenever they want and require. So for today, we are organizing the second boot camp of EPIC Hackathon, in which we have Dr. Rakesh Mishra, former director, CSIR CCMB, who will be speaking on the topic One Health. Then we have Dr. N. Masudan Rao, CEO, AIC CCMB, and consultant scientist, who will be speaking on S&T innovation and entrepreneurship. And then we have Dr. Pooja Devi, principal scientist, CSIO, who will be delivering her lecture on clean and green energy. And at the end, we have the closing remarks and a brief about Jigyasa EPIC program by Dr. Wafia Masih, senior principal scientist, National Chemical Laboratory, Pune. So to begin with the session, I'd like to invite Dr. Rakesh Kumar Mishra, former director, CSIR, Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, CCMB, and ACSIR Distinguished Emeritus Professor. To brief about Sir, he obtained his PhD from University of Allahabad. He was a postdoctoral fellow at Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore. He is also an elected fellow of J.C. Bose Fellowship, Indian Academy of Sciences, Indian National Academy of Sciences, Andhra Pradesh Academy of Sciences, etc. He has published more than 95 articles in national and international journals. His research interests lie in investigating evolutionary conserved features of genome organization, chromatin structure, and epigenetic regulation of genes during embryonic development. Along with this, he is also involved in studying the molecular basis of the functional features of chromatin level regulatory elements like chromatin domain, boundary, and cellular memory elements using comparative genomics approach. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and welcome to all the young audience of this boot camp of Jigyasa. And I'm going to today talk about One Health, which is a very important thought process which has started to gain importance, particularly during the pandemic, and now it's becoming more and more important. And as we go, you will realize that why this is so important.
You speak to a lot of students because of Corona themselves.
So we are going to have
they've been talking to a lot of people
look at the web of life and why it matters in terms of our health. So when we talk about health, you see here you have animals, you have humans, and you have environment, and everybody's health is crucial, and you will see that they are all linked. So, okay, so many of you may be aware of this diagram in many different versions you see in the net or in your books. It's called the tree of life. What it means is that we are all connected. So life originated many billion years ago, and then it started to create variations, and that variety then differentiated into species and so on. As you see, from common origin, very early on, something linear separated and they became plant of today, and some have continued in a different direction and became fish or animals like primates and cattle and even humans. So in other words, we are all related. So that means we share very simple, common principle of what runs our body, how we interact with environment. That is very important component of being alive, and how environmental factors influence our health and many things, including our mood and thinking. And remember that all this thing is happening in one planet. There is only one planet, and there is no border in this planet. Animals, bacteria, viruses, and of course, people can go around in different parts of the globe, and therefore there is a huge connectivity, and that has been increasing. So my purpose of showing this diagram is that all the living forms are connected. We have common origin, and therefore all our diseases also have a relationship. For instance, a bacteria or a virus which will be somewhere here can infect multiple animals, and sometimes a particular animal or insect can carry the infection to very far off places and deliver to somebody else or some other organism. Those are the kinds of things we are going to discuss today, that how they relate to our health. So what is One Health? This is important. You are going to read about it in next many years, and this is going to be a major theme for public health system in all the countries, because people have realized after the pandemic that looking at health in isolation is not going to be a very, very efficient strategy. So One Health is a collaborative approach recognizing the health of humans, animals, and environment are inextricably linked. So for instance, humans have on the one side animals, they use it for their food, for milk, for meat. And on the other side, they have close interaction with plants, which they use for crop or for fruit and so on. But then there are other plants which are in the forest where we don't generally approach, or there are the animals which are in the wild or in the ocean which we don't approach, and they have interaction. So, wild life itself has interaction. So as you see, we have close interaction, and then we have forest. Then we have close interaction with animals, and then we have wildlife. And all these three major components of the living things in this planet interact, and therefore the health is only one. If you don't have healthy plants, you will not have healthy animals or healthy human, because if we don't have crop, we have food. Similarly, if you don't have healthy animals, then animals also help plants in pollination, in seed dispersal, in many other things. Of course, we help plants a lot. We grow them, and we work for them and make a garden, make a field. So if animals are not healthy, then plants will not be healthy. We will not get our food supply, and so on. So as you can see that health is one thing. It's all connected. We should not think that only our health is important and others can be ignored. That is the basic concept of One Health. So why it is important, I tried explaining to you, but here are some more specific examples which I will describe. Since there is no discussion or question answer, I would encourage you to type your questions and send. CSR will share with the speakers, and then I'll be very happy to answer that. Because I'm sure all of you will have many questions. So coming back to this, why One Health is important. So one is that there are emerging diseases. Suddenly new disease comes and we get frightened. And that is not actually new phenomenon. More than 75% of the infectious diseases that we suffer have animal origin. That means those viruses not coming from nowhere. They are there in the wild, and somehow they jump to human population. And we will discuss those things, why this happens. So think of SARS, think of Ebola, and even the recent COVID-19. They all have animal origin, and they, by some means or some mechanism, directly or by intermediate vehicles, they come to human population. So that is one big problem which links animals and plants and humans. So One Health important. The other One Health big issue is antibiotic resistance. for many bacterial infections, which has been really a big issue, discovery of antibiotics helped a lot. In fact, that is very, very important. If I have to say one single drug which saves life, are the antibiotics. Now, what has been happening is over a period of time, because of the overuse of antibiotics, and gradually also it would happen, but it will take much longer time. And overuse of antibiotics, particularly in animals, for variety of reasons, even though sometimes they may not require, we have come up with the resistance in the bacteria. So resistance means now the antibiotic doesn't work. So we call them superbugs. They are resistant to antibiotic treatments. So imagine a world where even a simple infection becomes untreatable. This will be a big disaster. And there are projections that by 2050, something like 10 million people may lose life every year if we don't change the trend that is going on today. And then the third important thing which brings in One Health is environmental impact. So because of the human activities, we increase pollution, which leads to major changes in atmospheric gases or their composition, and that leads to change in the climate. And climate change, because it's fast compared to evolutionary time, it harms the ecosystem. It affects the water quality, it affects the food security, and ultimately human and animal health. So when we are changing the environment, we are not only creating problem for ourselves, for example, global warming, pollution, quality air, and so on. We are also creating problem for plants and animals on this planet. As I said, there is only one planet, and everything is in one pot. What is happening? So next few minutes, we will discuss what can be done. What is One Health action which we can do? So one is combating zoonotic diseases. So zoonotic diseases mean diseases that originate, that affect animals and originate from animals and can come to humans. So for example, here are a few examples. Let's say rabies. All of you may be aware of it. You may have suffered from a dog bite, or you may have your own pet. So how to control the rabies? The idea is simple. You vaccinate the dog and educate communities that can break the cycle of rabies transmission in both humans and animals. So we know the process, we know the virus, how it spreads, and if we vaccinate the pets, take care of the stray animals, we can control that. Now, so that is for the pet. Think of Ebola. So Ebola comes from the wildlife habitats. So we have to protect the wildlife habitat, monitor the animals' health. They can be a crucial role in preventing the Ebola outbreaks before they spill to humans. So now think of Nipah virus, which spreads to bats. So understanding the link between the bats and the Nipah virus outbreaks, that can help how to take care of this process. So since we know the origin, we know the reservoir, means the stock of these pathogens wherever they are, we can avoid them because we understand how they spread, what to do and what not to do. So that is one thing about the zoonotic, and we'll come back to these points one more time. The other one is environmental threats, how to address that. So deforestation is a major issue. Loss of rainforest disrupts natural disease barriers and increases the risk of zoonotic spillover events. See, the forests contain the wildlife. If we start attacking the forest, then what will happen? The animals will have to go somewhere, and in that somewhere will be our villages or bordering areas and cities and so on. So if you put stress on the forest by removing the trees or doing human activities there, you are going to bring more and more disease to us. Earlier, these components were not so well appreciated, but now with the pandemic, we are now much more aware of this, and I'm at least it's good change that we are discussing such issues and thinking of what to do. Then there's the climate change because of human activities for many other reasons. So one of the major thing that climate change is marked with is the rising temperature. And because of that, weather pattern is changing and it creates extreme weather conditions, which creates a new environment for us. So for example, in northern hemisphere, because of the lower temperature, many insects were not going, like mosquito will not go quite, and they will be only in southern hemisphere. But now because of the temperature increase, mosquitoes can go there also. So which means the disease that were common in warm countries are now going to become a threat in the relatively colder countries as well. And because of this climate change, now there are a new context in which pathogens can affect food and water security and so on, because everything is new, and it takes time for us to adjust and accommodate and adapt to that. Then the water pollution that we create, that is a major issue. The contaminated, the civic activity like in cities, in small towns, or even then sometimes in villages, the contaminated water, contaminated by industry, contaminated by human activities, that is released into the water bodies. And that is a source of infection and resistance of treatments against pathogens. They emerge because now you are exposing everything in one pot and giving bacteria a chance, or virus and fungi a chance to develop resistance. And we will discuss a little bit more because that's very important. So who are One Health heroes? Everyday action, right, is required. So this is you. That's you. You are the One Health heroes, and you can change the trend of the globe. The big problems that I discussed, actually, younger generation has to notice it and adopt practices that change the grim situation that is built up otherwise. So what you can do, these are few things, but you can do many other things. So and I'll talk very simple things. See, infection spreads from one individual to other, and there are many ways of infection that is spreading. And as we go along, you will see we will discuss many different ways of spread of infection. So one thing is wash your hand frequently. This is very important, particularly when you're going to eat. So whenever you come from outside, wash your hands. So simple hygiene practice significantly reduce the spread of germs. So if you wash nicely your hand, whatever you have touched or whatever bacteria they are there in the hand, they will do nothing. But if you touch food or put your finger in the mouth or in the eyes, wherever there's access to body fluid, then they can enter your body. So those are the simple hygiene practices that don't touch your mouth or face too frequently with your hand, and whenever you want to touch something which you want to eat now or later, or when you are going to eat, do a hand wash. That is very important. It looks very simple, but this can reduce significantly the spread. And if you may be resistant, you are young, but if you are allowing the bacteria to infect you, then bacteria will go to somebody else, and suddenly it may find an individual who is not very good health or older in age and all, and the person can be in trouble. So by blocking the bacteria by simple practices, or viruses, or fungi, or other protozoan pathogens, you are the hero, because you are blocking the enemy from entering our habitat or our life. Then second is the practice safe food handling. So if it is good to have the food clean, you peel the if it is not to be cooked, and if food often eat the cooked food because that is more safe, and avoid cross contamination of various kinds, right? So you can imagine that your food, when it is hot, it is safe. you should eat at that, but don't leave it outside. Don't touch it with many things, and so on. Don't let insects sit on this or other animals come close to this when you are eating, because you do not know from it. Because infection, the biggest thing of all the infections is that they are invisible. So you have to be very careful and imagine and avoid that. Then vaccinate your pet. We already discussed. So that is one way, because they are a reservoir of disease. Then support sustainable practices. So choose eco-friendly products, reduce waste and conserve water. That is very, very important. Don't throw plastic on the road or anywhere else, because plastic doesn't degrade easily, and it puts stress on the environment. Um, See if wastage can be reduced. Can you recycle things on your own and keep your surroundings clean? Don't waste water if it is, because that's very, very precious material, and is going to be a big problem in future. And then become a citizen scientist. All of you are scientists. Every individual is a scientist. Whoever asks a question, whoever has curiosity is a scientist. Whether you practice in a lab, or you practice at home, or you practice your other regular uh, um, activities, you can be a scientist. So, so since you are a scientist, you can participate in citizen scientist activities. So, for instance, participate in community projects like mosquito monitoring, where mosquitoes are growing. Mosquitoes, we know what kind of habitat they grow. The dengue mosquito grows in one way, malaria mosquito grows in another way. Dengue mosquito grows in fresh water. They will fly during the daytime and bite. Other mosquitoes can grow in wastewater or sewage water, and they come in the evening or early morning and so on. So since we know those things, we can monitor, and then we can start changing our environment in a way that mosquitoes don't thrive so much. Conserve wildlife, avoid activities which can lead to fire or destruction of environment in which animals live, and make your surroundings pollution free. All this you can do. Uh, Very often you will see, we are going in a bus in the school, and there is some children are eating something, they throw the plastic outside. That's not nice thing. As a responsible citizen, you should prevent that, because all these things lead to pollution and puts a stress on our planet, our atmosphere, which all of us share. Then okay, and then so what are something even more serious? Not that previous being activating in social community science is less serious. You can even be a professional. You can take this as a One Health as a theme of your career, and you can build a really professional career which will be relevant to One Health. So, for example, veterinarians, public health professionals, they are very, very important. They work at the front line of disease prevention and control in both humans and animals. So that's a very good career option where you can change the health of the planet for good. Then environmental scientists and engineers who can design and change the environment, how you should, what kind of vegetables, vegetation, what kind of canopy you should have, how you should manage your water bodies, how water systems should be managed that the harmful insects don't attack. And so once you understand as a scientist, as an environmental scientist, as an engineer, then you can do the work for the sustainable resource management and climate change mitigation. You can come out. Then the wildlife biologist and conservationist. So to conserve something, we must understand first how they live, what they do, what is their threat, and then only we can mitigate those threats and help the conservation. So being a wildlife biologist and conservationist is very crucial, and a large number of people are required, so that we have enough human resource available for addressing those problems. Then the policy makers and educators. So many things are there, but we don't have policies in place. So some of you should learn those things, come and do policy advocacy, that what is required for One Health, because this is going to affect the health of the entire planet. So it's all of us are responsible. Many of them people may be busy with other things, but some of you can become educators and policy makers and bring in the change that is required. And of course, science communicators, very, very important. To science is there, knowledge is there, but it's not communicated, so people are unaware. Nobody is deliberately destroying the planet. Many times we do not know. So therefore, science communication is very, very important to spread the message of science to common people, not to scientists. Scientists, they know because they are professionals in that area. So that's very good career options that you can have. And one of the challenge of One Health approach is that it requires collaborations. So collaboration in One Health is across the disciplines and sectors. So for example, veterinarians, doctors, environmental scientists, policymakers, and communities all have a role to play, and they all have to work in a synergy. They have to talk to veterinarian, can talk about the animal health to doctors. Doctors know what can be coming, and then environmental scientists, they understand how the animals, the reservoir and other things are working. And with all this information, we should make appropriate policies of what to do, what not to do, and so on. Right? And there is a community engagement is very, very important. No matter how many rules, regulations are there, but if community is not sensitive to that, then we keep seeing problems growing. Then global cooperation is essential. That is another very big challenge, because One Health transcends borders. We said no, there's one planet. There are no borders for viruses. You see, one pandemic originates somewhere in China, and within short period of time, whole world is engulfed in that. So virus has traveled everywhere. This requires international collaborations and exchange of information, so that there is a protection from something that can be avoided. Then there is a lot of information sharing and coordinated action is required. So if you notice somewhere something, it should be informed immediately so that we can contain. It's like a fire. Fire is visible, but disease, sudden emergence of a disease is invisible, but it happens. So if you contain the fire wherever it begins, then you can prevent the damage. So information sharing and action based on that is crucial. So now I will take you to what are things that we can understand and take precise steps. So for example, it is true that now there is an increasing threat of infectious diseases for many reasons. So population is increasing. So as I said, infection goes from one individual to others, more people. So bacteria has more vehicles, more hosts to land. Then there is expanding geographical areas, the parts of the planet which were not inhabited or under human activity. Now everywhere we are reaching. Then there is a close connect with the wild and domestic animals. Some of you may have gone to tiger reserves or reserve areas in forest, and you can see how nearby villages take their cattle inside, and sometimes tigers come and eat their cattle, and lots of interaction keeps happening. Then there is a climate change we talked about. Then deforestation, intense farming practices, so that puts a stress on the environment, on the soil, on the water consumption, and so on. And because of this, disease outbreaks happen. So these disease outbreak means then lots of people suddenly get infected with them. International travel. So if something happens in China, very soon it will happen in India, everywhere, because people are traveling so much. If not directly, they go from Europe, from America, and so on. Or something happens in the US, some disease comes, that will come to India very soon, and so on. So we are very well connected now. Globe has become very small. And there are new and emerging zoonotic diseases like SARS-CoV-2 is a new virus that came. The new similar kind of virus, but this is the new one. So there are lots of problems because of many factors. There is a threat of disease coming. So here, there's only one thing which I want to show you what we have learned during the SARS-CoV-2. So this is some of you will be able to appreciate this. On the x-axis, you see these numbers. This number means from one infected person, how many other person may get infected. So Here, this 10 means that whatever is this organism, if one infected person will infect 10 others. Here, one infected person will infect only one. So this is one axis for the data. And the y-axis is what is the percent of death, how many fatality, so how many people will die. So here means infection 0.1%, 1%, 10%, or 100% people will die because of infection. And now, so this is the data. So these are bird flu, Ebola, MERS. So these are Spanish flu, SARS. So that means they are less infection. That one infected individual infects only one or two, but whoever gets infected has a very bad outcome. Many of them may die. While the organisms here, they infect a lot, but the death is less. This is what you are seeing. These boxes are they are actually different variants of SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, and this black thing is Omicron. So Omicron, one person infected with Omicron will infect 10, 12 people, but the death is very little because it's very mild. But so you can see that we are having, if something is here, it is very infectious. Something is here that is very dangerous in terms of even less infection, people may die. So that is the scenario why different organisms are for us. Now, consider many specialists say that COVID is once in 100-year event. But there are reasons to believe that we might come to see the current pandemic as a test for a pandemic that arrives soon. The next pandemic may not take 10 years, 100 years, it may take 10 years or something like that. Imagine if it is even more serious consequences. Suppose the next pandemic comes here, or this virus, even something like this, acquires some mutation that it now starts to have lethality in this range. And a disease that transmits as rapidly as COVID-19. You see, the 1 to 10 means whole population gets infected, as we have seen very quickly. So if this is increasing, and something we reach somewhere here, we will be in a big trouble. Mortality 25%. Imagine, and these are all practically possible. Currently is 1-2%, it can become 20%. So, or something, COVID was not so much a problem for children, but some infections are for children. That is such a big blow to the society. So these are things that are possible to do, and it will be not very wise to ignore these possibilities and not do something about them. So what we need to do? So we need to first know what is happening. So that is called surveillance. Surveillance is very important. Then you will know what is happening, so you can take care of this. So surveillance we can do from wastewater, we can do from air, we can do zoonotic surveillance. Without touching an individual, you can know a lot about what is the pathogen around. Like this is the environment, you see people are there, you can take some water, you take insects, you take samples from different contexts or from air, and you can, so this is unbiased and early warning. Even if people are not very much infected, you are seeing the pathogen around. It's very convenient and cheap. For whole city, you can do few samples and you know what is happening in the city. And this is, as we know, relevant to many pathogens. And this also includes vector surveillance, where vectors are generally the small organisms, insect or their relatives, who live in animal context, also in human context. And if they have disease, they can transport disease. So we know lots of vector-borne diseases that are there in India. So we can survey the insects or the vectors and see how many of them are carrying disease. So here is an example of environmental surveillance in which CSIR has played a major role during the pandemic, and it is still continuing. We are continuing the surveillance in Bangalore from the sewage treatment plants, and in Hyderabad from the open drainage. We collect water, we bring in the lab and identify how many kinds of pathogens are there, what is the load of virus, SARS-CoV-2 or antimicrobial resistance. And CSIR labs also developed technology to do air surveillance, so collect air and then analyze in the lab and find out what kind of pathogens are flying around. So without touching any individual, without doing any sample, swab or blood test, you can actually tell what is happening. So environmental surveillance is really very powerful technology, which will help us fight the future pandemics. And we can correlate these with the clinical cases that may come. As I said, vector surveillance is another very important thing. So you can have transmission of disease by direct contact, indirect contact, vector-borne, food-borne, water-borne, and so on. And lots of animals carry as reservoir, and insect transmit from there. So if an animal falls sick, we know that what kind of virus is affecting, and then we know that that means virus is around. So we have to now contain the area so that we don't fall sick with that. So that is one way of preventing the disease entering into the human population. So we need a synergy of communication, collaboration, and collective information, and we can block the things from spreading. And this is the toward the end. What I want to bring to all of you is that AMR, or antimicrobial resistance, which we talked in the beginning, is very important component of the One Health. And whether it's a human activity, whether it's environmental, that means that you are giving antibiotic to animals, or you are the cattle, or you are spreading them for some other purposes in the environment. They all allow the bacteria now getting exposed, and bacteria have two very important properties. One, they divide a lot, so they have very large number, bacteria, virus, all microorganisms, and they mutate very fast. So they acquire new characters constantly. And if you put a selection pressure, always expose them to antibiotic, they will get used to antibiotic and they will not be susceptible to them. So that's the major mechanism by which they acquire the resistance. Other thing is that the resistance that is generated or acquired in animal pathogens can be transmitted laterally to human pathogens also, if they are present in one container or one lake or in one environmental thing. And these mechanisms of resistance, they can keep circulating. So therefore, it is very, very important to ensure a very careful and sensible use of antibiotics and other drugs which are used for treatment for human health. Because if you expose them a lot outside, then you are not, that treatment will become useless. So recently, our government had issued a notice that no antibiotics should be given by any shop, any medical shop to anyone. And even doctors have to write reasons why they are prescribing antibiotics. It's a very, very welcome move, because otherwise we are going to lose the advantage of antibiotics that we have. So that's a very important weapon. We should not disarm ourselves and become susceptible to pathogens. And just to make a few small comments, if we want to save ourselves, if we must accept that this planet belongs to all creatures. This planet doesn't belong to only human beings, so we have to be responsible. We cannot just go and catch animal and use them for wildlife trade. We cannot just catch animal which we don't grow in the forest and bring them and eat. Because when you are doing that, you are not only disturbing the wildlife, you are also bringing the pathogens from the wild to community. That's the wet markets are very dangerous place for it. If you destroy their habitat, then what will they do? If there is no tree, then the birds and bats, they will come to where human population is, at least some of them. So then that will lead to the pandemic. So if you want to stop future pandemic, respect other animals, respect forest, because they all have their right on this planet. We cannot say that only humans. So in fact, if we don't do that, we will ourselves get extinct because we are dependent on them. So One Health in the future is a vision for a healthy planet. It offers a future where human, animal, and environmental health are prioritized equally. Advancements in technology and research can revolutionize the disease surveillance, environmental monitoring, and sustainable development. And then by embracing this, we can have a healthy planet. So I mentioned something about surveillance. That is now becoming a really, really powerful method of how we handle the emerging pathogen. So last thing is, just remember that the virus spreads largely through people. So if people are careful, we can actually prevent the spread of the virus. So I'd like to thank you. Whenever you are in a crowded space, wherever there is or you feel you have some infection, use mask. Mask doesn't have to be used only during the pandemic. Why doctors and nurses use mask in the hospital? Ask yourself. Because lots of sick people go there and they have to cover themselves so that they don't get infected by the people who come there with infection. Those people are around also. So we can also, when we are with the unknown or a crowded place, it's good idea to use this, and that will block the spread. And then you are the hero because you are stopping the enemy from damaging. And as I said, you can type your questions, and I'll be very happy to address that. And thank you again for your time, and thank CSIR and Jigyasa for calling me to discuss this very important emerging issue for everybody, whether India, whole world, every city, big, small, village, everywhere is important. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I believe your talk on One Health, particularly the importance of One Health and simple everyday actions that can be done to improve the overall health of citizens, was very insightful and helpful to our school children. In case students have any queries or they want help in particular area, we'll get in touch with you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So moving further, I would like to call upon Dr. N. Madhusudan Rao, Chief Executive Officer, Atal Innovation Center and Consultant Scientist, CSIR CCMB, Hyderabad. To brief our audience about sir, he did his PhD from National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad. He is the coordinator of the CSIR network program on nanomaterials and nanodevices involving several institutions. Currently, he, along with his team, are working in the areas of protein engineering and proteins and interfaces and cell biology of gene delivery, especially with cationic lipids. He's a man of vision who desires to set up process for technology translation of discoveries in institutions and universities by establishing an ecosystem of stakeholders from industry, investors, IP, and regulators to smoothen the process of technology transfer. He has more than 110 publications and 11 US patents to his name. He's also a member of several national committees and also managed several projects in collaboration with several international agencies. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to share my screen now. Are you able to see the screen? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, listeners. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, ma'am. I'm Madhusudan Rao. I take care of an incubator in Hyderabad associated with Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. What I'm going to speak to you next 20 to 30 minutes is about my interest in innovation and entrepreneurship. Is one of the main reasons why I started this particular incubation center. The incubation center here is called Atal Incubation Center for at CCMB. It's a incubator that's focused on supporting startups in life sciences. So that's the reason why this was started to, those companies, those individuals who want to become entrepreneurs. It's a new activity. Entrepreneurship is a new activity, but because it's a kind of a different kind of activities, one needs to support those things. So this particular incubator is geared up to support these startups. But let me go back and talk about a bit more on innovation. Just to clarify some of the definitions. Innovation is not inventing. I mean, inventions are probably, many, like inventing electricities or whatever. I mean, many things that are there. Innovation is not inventing. It is something else. Innovation is more than jugaad. Jugaad is some word that we keep hearing in last several years quite a bit. The jugaad is something, definitely is an innovation, but the kind of innovation we are talking about is more than Jugaad. Jugaad is always something to do with a kind of economical way of solving a very local problem where you involve others. A societal problem solved in a very simpler way. So that's a Jugaad. In fact, Jugaads are innovations, but innovations are kind of go slightly have a more wider, implications and a meaning. So, in fact, innovation should benefit something or someone. Obviously, a great idea is okay, but at the same time, innovative ideas should be helping somebody and also benefit somebody. So, what we are looking at is those innovations that come around. I'll give you a few examples as we go along so that you will appreciate the idea of innovation. And why are we talking about innovations today? That comes a bit later on in my talk. But first, we should appreciate what constitutes an innovation, right? We come to the entrepreneurship a little later. And if you look at innovation and also entrepreneurship is something where you create an economic activity. It is, you have an innovation and also create an economic activity around it, like a business or something. Then naturally it becomes much more, it becomes a career option. You are all at an age where you're going to go become either join in some kind of undergraduate program, and now you're in a graduate programs and masters and things and like that. Then obviously you will be looking at what are my career options? Where do I go if I learn something? And then what do I do with that knowledge and information that I have? Should I be going towards getting into a job, develop my skills during my studies so that I can get into a job? Or what are the options that I have? Can I do my own thing? Many times we wanted to do our own thing as we grow up. So how do I do it? What are the things that are opportunities out there that we should be looking at? So if you mix it up, innovation with entrepreneurship, probably it is a good career option one can think of. Like if you innovation plus entrepreneurship can create personal wealth, then probably you can become a businessman, because in a way, entrepreneurship is nothing but a business, and you create a lot of economic activity. You create jobs, and whatever you are doing, it benefits society. So I think it is a very good package to look at as an option for quite a few of you as a career thing, where all of us want to be the boss of ourselves. When you get into a job, obviously you're not the boss, your boss is somebody else, but you're working for a company with a particular objective, you enjoy it, you thoroughly contribute to its growth and things like that. But that's one part where you're contributing to a company for its own growth. And in return, you'll get your financial remuneration for it. But sometimes you may also have your own ideas, and you cannot take them forward because you're already engaged in a particular employment. But you really want to take it out and do it. And you like that idea, and you know that it might benefit many people and also create an economic activity. So what do I do? Should I step out of my comfort zone of a steady financial income and then start something else? It all depends upon how passionate are you about your own idea and the way you want to take it up. So this is where some kind of a passion comes into play. How passionate are you about your own idea and its value to the society? And also, it is something that really makes you go ahead and do it in a way that others haven't seen it, see the solution the way you are seeing it. So I'll give you a few examples here, which I'm sure you will be able to appreciate the way it is. Say, for example, we see a lot of old people today in our community, like, your grandfathers, grandmothers and things like that. They have, as age comes, certain faculties of our, like mobility, eyesight, memory, all this kind of start decreasing. You're not as agile as you used to be. You can't see things very sharply. And sometimes, there are other issues like people are blind, deaf, dumb, and things like that. How the current technologies out there can help you to do things better. Say, for example, I know how many of you heard of the Google glasses, for example. They have come a couple of years ago, and then they become popular initially, but then, things didn't pan out well. But if you look at the problem that they are trying to solve, the problem they are trying to solve is, if you wear these glasses have a camera which will look around, it takes the pictures of the surroundings, and then it will tell you, because it already has a memory in it, it will find out if it looks at a chair, it will tell you in an audio signal that you're looking at a chair. If you're going towards a wall, it tells you there's a wall and things like that. A blind man cannot see it. But because it's an exceptionally well-built camera and also backed up with very good memory and what we call as edge computing. It computes the how far you are from the wall, and is in the palm of our hand today. And now these Google glasses have so much of because they're Wi-Fi connected, you access the entire web, internet, online, and then gives you solution as you're moving along a room or something like that, or even a new area. A person wearing Google glasses can do shopping completely on his own. He'll go to a supermarket, the camera looks at it and reads the things for him, and he can pick the right product for himself, go back and you ask it for a recipe, and it'll tell you a recipe. It will show you where the various utensils in the kitchen are, how to make things, where the microwave, and it will tell you all the things. So a blind man completely becomes independent of anybody else, and he can do things on his own. Imagine that. It gives you so much of dignity for a person who is blind. So, and also you must have heard about smart walking sticks. Elderly people, when they take these walking sticks, they'll tell you so many things about their own body, and about if they have any fall, it will tell you there is an emergency button to call somebody if there is a need for it, and it's a GST, location enabled, so exactly where this person is. So many times you get worried when your elderly people are staying at home alone. What is the situation? Sometimes you put close circuit cameras in house, but sometimes they want to go out. And then you can't put cameras there, but this walking stick will be very helpful. So if you look at the next slide, there are so many things that you are familiar with, like, you know about glucometer. Once upon a time, you'll have to go to get a glucose done, you have to go to a clinic. But now it is in your hand. So this is an excellent innovation where you bring in enzymes and then you put them on a paper strip and put it to an electronic sensor, and then within a minute you will get to know your blood glucose value. Unimaginably simple. Like, even if you look at things like Zomato, all of us are familiar with Zomato, where they solved a problem which everybody faces in terms of getting food. So it is an excellent innovation where there is a business opportunity for Zomato, but at the same time, it increases the hotel's output, the turnover, and it also meets the comfort of a comfort of us who are the buyers. You can sit at your home, just using the app, you can get your food. It looks like a simple idea. Now it's a part of life because you guys are young. If you are between 15 and 20 years old, then probably Zomato, you grew up with Zomato. But we know non-Zomato times and things like that, where it's going to be some task to get food from a hotel. But now it became so simple. So if you look at even 3D printing now, you can do so many things without going for a very complicated, molds and things like that. You can create any complicated structure using 3D printer, and if you have a CAD file, you can do that. So this will give you a kind of feed for the final product that you're going to develop. So these are all innovations that make more innovations happen. and also pushes the product development at a much faster rate. If you look at, for example, smartwatches, everybody is aware of, they'll tell you the blood pressure, oxygen content, so on and so forth. So many things they'll tell you. It's a boon to many people who are at a risk of some health issues. They can be very sure of their health and then prevent certain things from happening. And also it keeps track of your well-being, how to keep your, happy and keep your, various blood parameters, metabolic activities normal. And then, like, for example, drones. There are so many examples we can bring about. Drones are a big boon in terms of delivery of essential material in the last mile. Some villages are in hills or in valleys. How do you reach them when the movement is very difficult? Drones are the best examples because these are all simple devices, innovative product that solves so many societal problems in a very big way. And also the drone fellow will make money and the people at the other end will get benefit out of it. If you look at Ola, Ola is such a great example in innovation in ecosystem. Ola guys do not have a car, they do not have a driver, but they don't own any cars. They don't own any drivers, but still they solve one of the most important problem of city travel for various people in a very, very simple way, where they get some percentage out of it and they make good money. So we are looking at various innovative companies that solve the problem. Airbnb, again, if you look at this company, has solved one of the very interesting problem where they don't even own a single house, but at the same time, they solve some of the very important headaches for a traveler. When hotels are expensive, they're able to solve the problem in a way that they curate the houses, and where the house owner gets benefit, the traveler gets benefits, Airbnb gets benefit. It increases the tourism very much, and there is so much of economic activity around that. We should be very thankful. Similarly, like Ola, we have Rapidos, and we have the most important ubiquitous one, the unified payment interface. Yes, fantastic idea where we are literally cashless today. Everybody makes even 5 rupees of money transfer using UPI, which saves so much a problem for everybody. There is no money exchange. Everything is transparent. One account to another account it goes. It is under observation of everybody, transparent. So the need to go to the bank gets reduced. You don't even have to open your purse, use the phone. So these are all fantastic ideas that have changed our world, and you can come up with your own. Say, for example, if you're looking at the bulbs are usually sold as an innovation representative, and money is on the right side, that's entrepreneurship. If you meet these two things together, that's where you become an entrepreneur. So what kind of entrepreneurs, what is it that an entrepreneur requires? If you look at, they should be patient, they should be persistent, they should be very passionate. If you ask me, passion is the most important thing, because in any activity, whether you are an employer or at home or whatever, failures keep on happening. But failures should not disappoint you, but they should make you more driven. Okay, they should drive you more towards success. Persistence is what I'm saying. Basically, one make mistakes, but you learn from them and try to improve. Okay, there is just, sometimes people will spend a couple of years to be successful. Sometimes, it also depends upon the kind of enterprise that you choose. For example, if you are in a financial entrepreneurship and probably you're making an app or something like that in the fintech business or edutech or whatever, then naturally the successes will happen much more quickly. Where you develop an app, there is an opportunity, somebody gives you money, and the money that comes to you, you can spend it wisely to create a very effective app and then make money. But sometimes if we choose a more technology, non-IT based was like manufacturing or drugs development or biology or biotechnology kind of enterprises, then the timelines are much longer. because it takes time to develop something. It may take 2 to 3 years for something to develop. That way, you should have much more patience and persistence to survive these kind of challenges. But these are all, though they take longer time, the returns will be much larger. So that is something that you should be, say, if you are able to come up with a drug that solves a health problem, it's $1 billion, enterprise. So like that. So what are the kind of business rules that people have that you should not break? And it's very important for the success of a company is what you are trying to make, do people need it? Or put it simply, do you buy what you're making? Don't sell something you won't buy. That means there should be a need and you should love to have it. Okay. And that is most important thing. Many times enterprises fail because they make something which may not have a demand in the society. You may be making an excellent product, but do people need it? That's a question. So whenever you want to do something, one of the first things that you need to do is you need to know what is the competition out there and what is the need for it. So sometimes the ideas that we have, even others may get the same idea and develop it. And by the time you try to develop it, probably there are a couple of products out there in the market. So you lose your edge or the value of your new idea. So you should know what is going to be there, what others are doing in this particular game. Say if you start another Ola today, of course there is Uber, but do you have a completely different idea compared to these two that can we still have value in the market? Can I come up with an idea that is better than Ola, better than Uber, and then exist? Sometimes if you are very good, Olas and Ubers will buy you off. Even that's not a bad idea, because sometimes this is what happens. If you come up with a very good idea, which is different from a big player, then probably those big players come to you and say, give your company to us. So these are the kind of things that would work. I mean, it's also fine. Okay. And another important thing to become, if you're an innovator and you want to become an entrepreneur, the most important thing is entrepreneurship requires different inputs in terms of decision making. If you are purely a technology guy, because if you are a STEM student, you probably understand science very well. But entrepreneurship is not science alone. Entrepreneurship is much more, where you want to know what is the market, what is the market. As I said earlier, I want to make something that people want. How do you know that people want? How do you know that people are unhappy with Zomato, but I want something else? Then I have to do a survey and understand what are the gaps Zomato is not able to meet, and then what is it that I can fill that gap. That means I have to do a market survey or the user surveys to understand the user's requirements. Sometimes these medias, various medias like LinkedIn's, or WhatsApps, or Facebooks, and Instagrams will give you a lot of inputs on that. That's why these sites become very valuable, because they will kind of profile the interests of the subscribers. So that is one way of knowing it. But personal surveys also would help, because personal surveys will tell you about the local requirements. So you want to understand the value of the product you want to develop. So that means you have to do some kind of a survey and understand that there is a value for it. And then comes, how do you market it? You said product development is one part, and also you will have to, when you want to put something in the market, you have to get some government approvals, some regulatory ones. Most probably apps don't have that kind of a requirement, but if you are a biologist or a chemist or something, there are certain approvals you'll have to take. The approvals in the sense that, if you're putting a drug molecule in the market, you have to go to the drug controller and ask him, then they will ask you certain things to do and you do those things. And again, if you are making a device like glucometer or something, you go to the medical research departments and then they'll tell you, you follow these things, then you can go to the market. Because government want to put things in the market that have value and there is a certain amount of quality control on that. So if you don't have it, then many fake compounds will come, like what happens in the WhatsApp, for example. WhatsApp comes with a lot of unreliable information because it's not under control. So we should have control over the things that come to us, whether it is the messages or products. So the products, as far as they are concerned, the government has a tight control on what should enter the market. So when you become an entrepreneur, you should understand what are the rules of the government that will allow you to put something in the market. So, and then also comes sometimes intellectual property. You must have heard about patents and things like that. What intellectual property tells you is, if you have a very interesting, innovative idea, you wanted to register that idea that it is yours. So there is what is called what we call as intellectual property or patents. So you go to the government and ask them, sir, this is what I have done. This is my idea. This is what I want. I want it to be on my name. And if there are people who can help you how to do it, you do it. So now it is in your idea. So the reason for this ownership of intellectual property is if you don't claim that it is your idea, anybody can claim. So when you get an idea and you see the value of it, you must protect it. Protect it by intellectual property, obtaining an intellectual property on it. This is very important because as you become an entrepreneur, you want to grow big. When you want to go big, you want more money. When you want money, people will give you only when they are sure that your idea belongs to you. That means if you have intellectual property in your name, if you don't have it, then once it is in the market, many people can clone it. Once they start cloning it, then it's no use. Like, it is like, a new movie that is released suddenly gets copied into something else and it's available in some particular channel or some vague internet site. Then the whole purpose is lost. Making a movie and want to make money out of it is gone. So there has to be very strict regulations and preventive measures. And you don't want people to exploit you. This is why government plays a very key role by creating an intellectual property thing where you own it so that people can invest in you so that you can grow big. So these are all the various things that one should be aware of. That's why I said, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you should have your own company, people who are good at business, marketing, kind of things. So that's when finances, because money matters means you need accountants with you who can help you to plan your journey. So all I'm trying to get to you is, when you grow up and start looking at opportunities around, and you have already spent some 20 years in learning various subjects and knowledge, and you look around and see a lot of interesting problems around, and these problems are actually opportunities for us to solve. It gives you a satisfaction of solving a societal problem, and at the same time you make money. For example, in the previous talk also, you may have heard about some of the vaccines India has developed. The vaccines, at least I'm from Hyderabad, there is a company by name Bharat Biotech. They developed the vaccine very quickly, and it has an enormous societal impact. And then now he made money. The people got benefited because of that vaccine. So it is a great value for everyone. And it created so much of economic activity. Something similar you can also do it. So another reason why I'm saying it is, India is a very smart country. And if you look at the ranking of India, publications means how much knowledge we add to the whole world. We are one of the top 5 countries in the world. Always, because we publish a lot and we do great work. But when these great ideas that we generate in our various institutes, universities and things like that, but they are not able to translate into something, an innovative product that solves a societal problem, either in India or anywhere else. So, in the ranking of innovation, we are nearly 50th in innovation rank in the world, which is very sad. When you are a smart country, when you are not able to take that ideas into something that solves a problem, that means something is missing. So, remember today, being the world become a global world, a global ecosystem, where what works here works anywhere else. A solution is here is a solution anywhere else. So while we solve the problem, it is not only India problem, but we probably solving some other country's problem also, which is facing the same challenge. So look at it, countries develop solutions to their problems, and we should develop solutions to India's problems, because all said and done, though India is a great country, but we also suffer from various things, and also the things that we heard about in the previous talk about One Health, so on and so forth. We have to look at these things and try to come up with our own solutions, and at the same time create an economic activity that benefits us. Like, it's much easier to come up with service-related enterprises, but if there are more technology-based enterprises, it will take a little longer. But I'm sure the paybacks will be very, very interesting. So my suggestion to each of you is keep looking. You should be, while looking for your future options in career, look at what kind of ideas I have that can help somebody, and then, talk to people, talk to your seniors, talk to your faculty. And then there are so many programs in the country today promoted by the government in various ministries, Ministry of Electronics, Department of Science and Technology, Biotechnology, CSIR, Niti Aayog, Innovation Missions, the Tinkering Labs, School Innovation Program. There are so many things you should look at, and also take a look at them as an opportunities to go forward in that direction, because this is what your learning should result in. Your learnings and your everything should go towards becoming a good employer is one, a good employee is one, but at the same time, you also can become an individual who can contribute. There's so many fantastic stories I can go about where people have made huge difference. I'll close this thing with, I'll finish in 1 minute. I'll tell you one example. There's a company in Bangalore called Selco. This company makes solar panels. In a way, they are much more useful for, in a way, they can be useful in converting the solar power into electrical power, and then create a kind of a distribution network. So very remote areas where there is no electricity, people get benefit out of it, because it's not, solar cells are not a new thing. Everybody knows about them and the value, but create a kind of a network and enterprise where the reach is complete. It may look like a very obvious idea, but when you get to it, it's a very smart idea that they have done it. It's one of the best companies that you can come in. Okay, so I'm more or less done, and thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for encapsulating talk on innovation. If there are any queries or doubts from the student side, we'll get in touch with you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now, moving further, I would like to invite our speaker, Dr. Pooja Devi, Principal Scientist, CSIR, Central Scientific Instruments Organization, CSIO, Chandigarh. To brief about ma'am, she has done her PhD from Academy of Scientific and Innovative Research, ACSIR, New Delhi. She is a material scientist and is working in applied material science area with a focus on developing materials, methods for energy and environmental application. Her major research interest includes materials and devices designed for hydrogen production, water-air pollutants degradation, and water pollutants monitoring. She has published around 72 research papers in high-impact journals, edited 5 books as lead editor, published 18 book chapters, and has also filed 3 patents, 1 copyright, 1 trademark, and developed 4 technologies, out of which 2 are transferred to the industries. She's also a recipient of several prestigious awards and fellowships, including Haryana Yuva Vigyan Award, Women Excellence Award, Young Associateship of Indian Academy of Sciences, etc. She has also presented India at several international platforms, including BRICS Young Scientist Conclave and Shanghai Cooperation Organization Young Scientist Conclave. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for this brief introduction. Let me start by first sharing my screen. Can you confirm my screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I welcome all the youngsters who are joining us through our CSIR JIGYASA YouTube channel. So I'm going to talk about one of the themes which under which we are inviting innovation from the students, that is clean and green energy. So I'll give a brief glance about different kind of technology catering to these particular domain and how students can contribute this particular area through their innovative ideas. So the first question that comes into mind, why do we need clean energy solution? As you know that there has been, like, since centuries, we have been dependent upon the conventional energy fuels like oil, coal, and all these kind of fossil fuels. But if we see that the demand, the way it is increasing and the availability of these fossil fuels, there is a gap between the demand and supply. To bridge this particular gap, we need alternate energy solution which can meet our global requirement. And not only this, the fossil fuels, they have their other environmental impact. They are not sustainable energy solutions. So here, if you can see over here that the emission, the CO2 emission because of the fossil fuel globally, and as a result, it has impact on increasing Earth's temperature, which we see as a climate change due to increase in the carbon dioxide emission. And in addition, the effects associated with the toxicity of carbon dioxide. So we need more cleaner or sustainable energy solutions. And if we see, like, currently in terms of the world total energy consumption, we have still major contribution coming from the fossil fuels, such as coal, natural gas, petroleum, and the other alternative energy solution. They have very less contribution, and what we as a society expect to increase the contribution from these clean energy technologies to overcome the challenges associated with the fossil fuel in terms of environmental aspect as well as the availability. So what are the alternate energy solutions which are cleaner and greener? So you might be knowing about these solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, and even the biomass energy. So these are coming from natural resources. That's why they are sustainable and cleaner solutions. So when we are talking about green or clean energy solution, that is coming from the nature which is already existing and how to harvest those energy to meet our particular requirement. So if we see, like, from this particular image, you could see here that in terms of the energy availability from these kind of different finite or infinite energy sources, coal has a each diameter of each circle over here, it tells how much is the energy available from this particular source. So among these kind of sources, if you see, the solar has a huge amount of energy which is available to us and which is still untapped to its full potential. So in comparison to the fossil fuel, the renewable energy sources has a competitive amount of energy available, which could be tapped to meet our requirement. And so this can be done by these clean energy solution, which I just talked about. And the as far as we talk about the requirement of human mankind, it's around 13 terawatt to meet all kind of industrial or the personal energy requirement. And the energy which is coming from the natural sources, be it wind energy or geothermal energy or from the tides or biomass or solar, is more than what we actually need. But we need technology to tap that energy. So one of those energy is the solar energy. Now, what are the challenges associated with these renewable energy technologies? Let's take an example of the solar energy. So solar energy has become quite popular in current times. We have seen that solar panels and solar lights, and there are many technology based on solar. But for any technology to become competitive and to be accepted by any community, there are one of the factor is the cost. So solar electricity cost is comparatively high if we compare it from the other conventional method by which the energy is produced. Then there are challenges in terms of the it requires large space for the installation, and also it's dependent upon the climate. So these are untapped area where we require more innovation to, like, in terms of building solution to enhance the solar energy absorption or overcome these challenges and cut down the cost of the solar technologies. So in general, when we are talking about the energy solutions, we are in general talking about three kind of categories. One is energy harvesting, that is generation of this particular energy. Second is energy storage, how to store that energy which is generated in different forms, and also energy conversion. So some of these technologies which are quite being used nowadays, and still a lot of work ongoing to improve their efficiency, to make them sustainable, to make them economical, are like solar cells, photoelectrochemical cells, electrolyzers, batteries, supercapacitors, fuel cells. So I'm going to give you a glimpse of all this technology in brief, and we can take questions. If you have any particular, you can type in your chat box in the YouTube channel. So these are some of the technologies which are basically for the harvesting, storage, as well as for the energy conversion. So mostly the energy in which form it is generated is the electricity. So we talk about solar energy, wind energy, hydropower, or geothermal. So most of these energy, or the way we are harvesting the energy, is in the form of electricity. That is one way. In addition to that, the energy can also be stored in the form of chemical, like hydrogen, or conversion of carbon dioxide to the chemical fuels. So that is another form by which the energy can be harvested. So majority or major contribution from these renewable energy solution is in the form of electricity. So we require solutions, we require technology which can store this electricity. How that can be done? There are different devices, there are different ways, like batteries and supercapacitors, while fuel cell is a conversion device. So batteries and supercapacitor, these are like portable or mode of storing the electricity. How these two technologies differ from each other? From here, if you can see, the particular mode of the storing charge is different between batteries and supercapacitors. For instance, you have seen that in the supercapacitor, you might have studied in your notebooks or in your class, the fundamental of a capacitor, how charge is stored. So basically, charge storage here is a surface phenomena, or basically you can say is a physical phenomena. So here the role of the electrodes or the material where your charge gets stored is important to store the maximum charge capacity. The batteries, on the other hand, you might have done in your school times or in your childhood, this simple experiment of fluid batteries where you take two electrodes, one say from copper, another for zinc, and you connect them and try to light up some LED or kind of any electronic device. So batteries are basically electrochemical active devices, and the supercapacitor are electrochemical passive devices. Or you can say the charge is stored in the form of a physical form in case of supercapacitor, while in case of batteries in form of chemical form, that is in the form of redox active species. Now, you read about the capacitors in your classes, and what are supercapacitors and how they differ from batteries and the fuel cells. So one of the important criteria by which we compare these devices is in the form of the energy density and power density. So what is the difference between these two? The power density is the capacity to deliver it fast, and energy density is the capacity to deliver it for longer period of time. For instance, we take an example of, a small cup and one big bottle of water. So if we fill it with water and then we throw it out. So cup, you can say that it is delivering the liquid very fast. So it has high power density. While a bottle here, it's delivering the water, but in a slow rate. So it means it has high energy density, but low power density. So for this example, if we try to compare, relate it here. So the capacitor generally have the high power density, but they have low energy density. On the other hand, the batteries, they have high energy density, but low power density. While supercapacitor, they are basically a sandwich between capacitors and batteries. They try to bridge this gap, and it is possible to achieve high energy density as well as high power density with the supercapacitors. So in technical term or in a scientific term, we generally compare all these kind of devices through this particular plot we call as a Rangan plot. Here you can see where the capacitor stands in terms of the power density and energy density, and where different kind of battery technologies. So in batteries also we have different kind of technology, and the research community or scientific community is trying to achieve higher energy density as well as higher power density, which have different application into different sectors. We will have a discussion on that. So for instance, if you see here, if we compare different capacitors, like if you in the first three rows, so there are different capacitors, and if you compare it in terms of the specific energy density, their energy density is very low. And on the other hand, if we see like lithium-ion battery, which is a newer technology in the sector of batteries, and lead acid batteries, which is very commonly used in our household, so their energy density is very high. And there is a depending upon where is your application, one can either use supercapacitors or the batteries or a combination of that. That is a hybrid technologies. So that depends upon the several factors. One of them is the energy density and power density, while other factors are what is the cycle life, how long it takes to charge a capacitor or a battery, how long it takes for its discharge, and ultimately the cost of these technologies. Now, if we see, let's try to understand what basically a supercapacitor looks like. So basically, it's kind of a parallel plate where you have two plates, and then they are separated by some dielectric medium, or in here, if we are talking about electrochemical supercapacitor, some electrolyte. So here, the ions in the electrolyte, they store onto these plates, that is anode and cathode, and this charge stored, basically when you're doing charging and discharging, basically you are storing the charge. And mostly these kind of electrodes over here, they are either made of like high surface area activated carbon or graphene or carbon nanotubes. These kind of materials are used to store the maximum charge. So when we are using the material at very nano level, at nano dimension, we are increasing the overall active surface area. So that way we could increase the overall charge storage capacity in a supercapacitor system. So in general, the charge is stored in three mechanisms in a supercapacitor. One of the very commonly used is a double layer capacitance, or we call it EDLC. That is a very fundamental way of storing the charge in the supercapacitor. There are other mechanisms also, which is known as like pseudo-capacitive behavior or a battery kind of behavior, which is more or less related to the Faraday processes. So in these kind of capacitors, the materials, you have like storage of charge by this electrostatic mechanism, and also there are redox phenomena which happen at the surface that could be due to protonation or deprotonation of your surface functional group or other species. So that way also it add up to overall charge storage capacity of your material. So these are the, this is the basic behind how the charge is stored in the supercapacitors. Now, where do these supercapacitors find application? So I said, like in the previous, if you want to deliver energy, fast, you need supercapacitors. So for instance, we see these, in car, in trains, or in the race cars, where you need, very high amount of energy in fast. So there you need these supercapacitor kind of devices. How a supercapacitor looks like, the commercial supercapacitors, which we have seen. So this is kind of, if you see the structure of this particular supercapacitor, you have the positive electrode, which is made up of carbon material, and then aluminum as a current collector. Then again, negative electrodes, and then that's separated by some electrolyte between these two electrodes. So this is how the commercial supercapacitors look like. And to specify or how these supercapacitors in terms of their specification, we can compare their power density, energy density, charge discharge time, as well as their durability. So these are certain features by which we can select a supercapacitor for a particular application. Now, the another mode of storing the charge is in the form of batteries. So you might have done this very simple experiment in your childhood, or you can even do it in your class, where you take some kind of fruit or like this potato, and you put two electrodes. One is like zinc and then copper, and you put them in series, and then you connect them. And you can see here, you can run a small electronic device over here. Same kind of experiment you can do with the coin cell, which is a coin cell batteries, where you can take basically this penny of copper and then one paper which is impregnated with the salt solution or the vinegar and zinc. So in alternate form, you can take these coins and these kind of components, and you can connect them and try to lead basically a small component, like shown here is a battery. So this actually is a battery kind of configuration. Now, how, if we see like in terms of the evolution of the batteries, how it has come from a very small kind of experiment by connecting, zinc and copper wire from the very basic experiment which I showed in the previous slide. So there are redox phenomena or redox reaction happening at these two electrodes by which the charge is stored. So starting from this basic galvanic cell to voltaic cell and Daniell cells, now we have come towards the very advanced form of the batteries, like from the lead acid batteries to lithium batteries and even lithium ion batteries. So these are kind of some batteries which have been evolved over a period of time. You might have seen these kind of batteries in your houses. You might have used them for some of your routine application. And even now, they have found application not only in small electronic devices, but also in other high energy uses application. So what is the basic configuration of a battery? So like a supercapacitor, the battery also has these two electrodes along with the current collectors. But in this case, you have basically a shuttling of the ions. That is, for instance, if you take an example of lithium ion, you have a shuttling of the ions between these two electrodes. So when we are charging or discharging, so when we are charging, these ions, they intercalate between your anode over here, so which is generally basically carbon material or a graphite material. So in this process, this lithium ion is stored, that is the charge process. And in the discharge process, it shuttles from anode to the cathode. And this is basically, you have redox phenomena happening over here. So there are mainly Faradic processes which happen in a battery configuration. So that way it is different from the supercapacitor application. So you can store charge for longer period of time in the batteries, and also you can obtain the charge, like the stored charge, deliver the energy for longer period of time in case of the batteries. Now, in terms of the application, if we see, we have seen batteries, different kind of batteries in our daily routine devices, starting from even the remote of your TV to wearables to cameras, laptops. And now if we see, they are finding application in storing the grid energy, which is in excessive amount. Even the solar energy, which is generated, it could be stored in the form of chemical energy in the batteries and electric vehicles. they are which are running from the driven from these batteries application. So you can see that how the technology of batteries has evolved because of the advancement in the material, advancement in the overall technology, energy management, thermal management of these devices, and from small scale devices to the even the electric vehicles and electric grids, we are finding the application of these battery technologies. CSIR has also contributed in this particular direction. So CSIR Labs, SICRI specifically, has developed indigenous, first indigenous lithium-ion batteries, and these they have designed different version of these particular batteries, from the coin cell to cylindrical cell to a pouch cell, and some of these batteries has been integrated in like bikes, as you can see over here. So you can see the contribution of CSIR in this particular direction. Now, what could be other form by which the energy could be stored? So these batteries and supercapacitor, they are basically storing the electrical energy in form of charge. The other way is to store the energy is in the form of a chemical energy. Like if you want to store the solar energy in a chemical form, the one way is to use that solar energy to split the water to generate the hydrogen. So basically you can store the solar into hydrogen. So why hydrogen? So hydrogen is basically one of the cleanest form of energy fuel, and it has it is the third common most element present on Earth's surface. And other advantage is it has very high energy, if we combustion energy, if we compare it even with the conventional fuel. So there are innovations done and are required in terms of generating this clean fuel from natural sources, including water, biomass, and also then safe delivery of the hydrogen which is generated along with its storage, so that it can be further utilized, and then use this hydrogen in form of conversion devices like fuel cell, and then integrating this hydrogen fuel cell into the various application like transportation or the stationary application. So these are the different domains where the hydrogen technologies or hydrogen innovation is required to be done to make it more acceptable to the community. So if we see hydrogen, it's not like it was not there earlier. It was being produced from the conventional fuel by like coal gasification or steam methane reforming. However, these mode of hydrogen production they were generating a lot of carbon dioxide into the environment. So they were still not the greener route. So now the focus of the scientific community is to develop the solutions which are eco-friendly, which are environment-friendly, which are sustainable, as well as which are economical. So based upon how the hydrogen is being produced, there are different color codes, like anyone willing to explore the solution towards hydrogen technology. So there are different color codes which are given to the hydrogen based on how it is generated. For instance, we have like blue hydrogen, green hydrogen, brown, and gray hydrogen. So gray and brown, these are the conventional route for the generation of hydrogen. Like gray hydrogen, when we are making it from the methane, and while the brown and blue, so they are still formed from the conventional fuel. But what is done in these kind of technologies is to capture the carbon dioxide which is produced in the process, so that it make it environment friendly. So those particular color are coded for the brown and blue hydrogen generated from coal and methane while capturing the carbon dioxide in the process. The more promising technology is a green hydrogen technology. In the green hydrogen means we are generating it from the natural resources. We are using natural resources, and we are not generating any carbon dioxide or pollution into the environment while generating them. So that is known as a green hydrogen generation. So electrolysis or photocatalysis or photoelectrocatalysis or biomass technology, these are some kind of route by which you can generate the greener hydrogen. So let's try to understand electrolysis, which is one of the way of generating hydrogen from the water. So in this particular technology, the fundamental is that we use two set of electrodes. One is anode and cathode, separated by a membrane separator. And what we can do, we apply a particular bias or a potential. So the water, it requires a theoretical redox, like it's a potential of 1.23 volt, but to split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. So that way we can, at cathode side, we can generate hydrogen, while onto the anode side, we can generate oxygen. So how to make it more friendly, more economical or sustainable to generate this hydrogen by using natural sources. By natural sources, when we mean that solar integrated electrolyzer or PV integrated electrolyzer, or using the solar energy to activate these electrodes, which are like cathode and anode. So it is possible to use some kind of photoactive material here. So there comes the role of materials. So photoactive material which absorb the solar energy and it generates the charge such that they participate in the water splitting phenomena. So that is the more sustainable or more greener route of hydrogen generation. So there are scope of converting this electrolysis technology greener by integrating it with the solar technology, by developing cleaner solution using photoelectrocatalysis system, or basically self-sustained photocatalysis system to make it more environment friendly. So this is how basically electrolyzer looks like at industrial scale. Here you can see these are different kind of electrode assembly with multiple stacks, which are used to at the industrial level, and they are of different capacity for what rate we want to generate the hydrogen out of it, how much electricity we want to produce out of it. So these are the commercial or industrial level electrolyzer, how they look like. And in general, if you want to compare the electrolyzer technologies, there are basically three fundamental technologies on electrolyzer. One is alkaline electrolyzer, which is very conventional and more commonly used electrolyzer system. And second is a PEM electrolyzer, which is a proton exchange membrane based electrolyzer. And the recent technology or advanced technology, which is finding quite interest of the community, is the AEM electrolyzers. So all these three technology, they differ in terms of the purity of hydrogen, rate of hydrogen production, type of electrolyte, type of electrode we are using. So you can see a comparative performance between these three technology, as well as the purity of hydrogen delivered from these three technologies, as well as their compatibility with the PV solutions. So why hydrogen is important for our country? Hydrogen technologies, our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi on August 2021 also declared a national hydrogen mission. So we as a country, we lie at a at equator line. Lot of solar energy come to us. So how, if we can tap that solar energy not only in the form of storing it as electrical energy, but also as a chemical energy in the form of hydrogen. So we have lot of potential to advance in this particular area. So that's why this technology is very important, and it can make our country self-reliant, self-dependent on our energy requirements. So it will reduce our dependence upon the import of the fossil fuels. So that way the hydrogen or cleaner technologies are very much important for our country. And if you see the contribution of CSIR Labs has developed certain various kind of electrolyzers. So one of you can see here, which is a PEM electrolyzer integrated with the solar cells, and then the other technology like alkaline water electrolyzer and PEM electrolyzers of different capacity has been developed by CSIR laboratories. And I will now touch upon in a brief other two energy technologies, that is fuel cell and biomass. So what are fuel cells? So fuel cells are basically energy conversion devices, means they are using the energy. For instance, over here is the hydrogen. They are using the hydrogen to generate the energy. So in fuel cells, again, you have the same electrode configuration, that is anode and cathode separated by a separator. Here your hydrogen is supplied from one end and oxygen is supplied from the other end. And when they bind, like there are selective membrane for these gases to pass through. So when they combine, they generate electricity as well as water. So here you can see the hydrogen technology in general are, complete circular cleaner technology. You generate hydrogen from the water. And again, when you use the hydrogen in your system using the fuel cells, you again generate the water. So it's a cleaner and more sustainable route energy form that has environmental compatibility, environmental sustainability. So CSIR Laboratories has developed these fuel cells for utilizing hydrogen, and also, first of its kind, this first car, which is as well as a bus, which runs on the fuel cell technology, which is developed by one of our CSIR laboratories. So you can find the real-time uses of these cleaner and greener technology as a substitute to the fossil fuels. Now, coming to the last part of this talk, that is the biomass energy. So biomass is also a potential energy source for our country, because we are an agriculture country dominated by agricultural activities. So we have a lot of biomass available around us. So how to tap that biomass, like in the form of waste food or trees, agriculture waste water. So there are a lot of biomass which is available as an agriculture country to us, and we can tap that biomass to generate various forms of energies. So this energy could be, biomass could be converted in form of a biofuel like biomethanol or gaseous form, or we can generate electrical energy out of it, or in the form of heat. Not only this, biomass could also be used for the generation of the hydrogen. So that way you can see that as an Asian country, among the Asian countries having a lot of biomass potential in different forms over here, if you see the percent of biomass available in our Asian region, we have also opportunity to explore the technology, to develop the technology around the biomass to meet our energy requirement. So this particular EPIC theme, it has invited innovation, it has invited students to come up with the solutions for these particular three themes, which I try to cover in my presentation. That is clean energy harvesting and storage. So it could be in form of like capturing that energy and storing that energy. I discussed some topics about like storing and harvesting in form of your batteries, supercapacitors, hydrogen technologies, fuel cells, biomass, and how you can utilize that energy in terms of the management, like in your houses or in the industrial sector. So we can have efficient utilization of energy and limited wastage of the energy which we are generating, and how we can use this outdoor energy, to meet like our indoor requirement. How can we use the indoor lighting to drive our small devices. So these are some areas where the students could explore. And last theme is the waste to energy. So as a agriculture country, we have a lot of waste available, untapped waste available. How could we use those waste resources to develop innovative solutions, innovative technology around it? So the students could think of ideas, and they can think of the problem around in their surrounding, specifically like for the local problems even in their surrounding, and so they can develop the solution around that local problem corresponding to the energy, and then they can think of taking this particular solution at a national level or a global level. So we have given some possible ideas where the student can develop the projects or prototypes. These are also listed in our Jigyasa virtual lab website. You can go through it. Like you can come up with some prototype utilizing this renewable energy solution, and can find some innovative application to cut down our energy requirement or dependence upon these conventional energy sources, or come up with some designs of solution or apps or games, interactive apps, or to come up like in form of management and utilization of the energy for efficient uses, and also the projects or ideas on using the waste material or recycled material to come up, innovative solution in form of developing batteries or electrolyzers or fuel cells. So these are some of the, ideas to throw to you, but think of the problem in your surrounding and how you can develop the ideas around your surrounding in this particular domain to come up with the cleaner and greener energy solution, so that we can meet our routine requirement and we can reduce our dependence upon the fossil fuels. So at the end, I would say that as a country, at the time of independence, we were more focused towards securing our borders, giving food to our people. But now, over the last 75 years, we have grown significantly, and to further grow, for our country to become a superpower, to become a Viksit Bharat in next coming years by 2047, it's the science and research which has a role to play. And students, you are basically the next generation, the future of our country. So these whole efforts are being done for creating your interest towards science and developing the, making our country self-reliant in terms of the science and technology, because science and technology is the power to take any country to the next level. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to take the questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us insights about the clean and green energy. And again, if there are any queries from students' side, we'll come up to you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Now, to conclude the session, I would like to call upon Dr. Wafia Masih, Senior Principal Scientist, National Chemical Laboratory, Pune. She's, sorry for my bad voice. She has over 25 years of experience of working as scientist in NCL. And now she'll be delivering, she's talking brief about JIGYASA, EPIC JIGYASA EPIC program, and will be delivering the vote of thanks. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So, is it stop sharing or is it still sharing? Because I can't see. Yeah,
ma'am, your slides are not visible, ma'am. It has been stopped.
Yes. Sure. Okay, so thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone listening to me. I would like to tell you a little bit about the EPIC Hackathon. As you know that the EPIC Hackathon was launched on 5th of Jan 2024. Before I proceed, can you let me know whether I'm audible properly?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. You're audible, ma'am.
Okay. So, as you know, the CSIR Hackathon was launched on the 5th of Jan 2024. And this is the first bootcamp was done about a week back on 16th Jan. And today we are having the second bootcamp on the EPIC Hackathon that CSIR has initiated and conveyed before you today. And I'm sure you had an exciting and vibrant bootcamp with our eminent speakers of the day. I would like to thank Dr. Rakesh Mishra. We are very grateful for his time and efforts for laying down today's One Health theme before you. And also I would like to thank him for covering all the health and innovative solutions to the real world problems. As you know that Hackathon on One Health is all about open data sharing and scalable platforms which act as game changer in dealing with COVID-19 pandemic in the past. It is therefore proposed to develop solutions towards pandemic preparedness as well as healthcare response in general. This is even more important for countries like India, where these solutions have far-reaching impact in providing quality care to a large patient base. So the themes that include in our EPIC Hackathon and which you can read on our virtual lab platform are the digital solutions to healthcare and challenges, affordable prototypes for high-end research and clinical instruments, towards One Health, where you may like to build platforms, apps towards integration of data on disease prevalence measures, policy reach, quality metrics, etc. You can also cover disease management, consultations of used, prescribed, unprescribed antibiotics, follow-ups, etc. So I would also like to now thank the vibrant speaker, Dr. N. Madhusadana Rao, the CEO of Atal Innovation Center and Chief Scientist from CCMB. And he has given an overview excellently for the science, technology and innovation entrepreneurship. where ideas can get transformed into technologies and technologies can get transformed into products, and you can have a startup, or you can, be your own innovators, young innovators, I should say, to the students. And this was covered up very well, and I'm sure you have listened to it. I'm now grateful to Dr. Pooja, who recently spoke about the clean and green energy, as she has also cited very good examples. So I thank her also, and I must thank the CSIR and HRDG, who have started the most inspiring CSIR Jigyasa program in 2017 that allowed students and teachers from different schools across the nation to visit CSIR laboratories in close proximity. The objective was to give them an exposure to see the research and infrastructural facilities at the CSIR laboratories and get a first-hand experience on what and how research is all about and gain research-based insights. Basically, objective of CSIR Jigyasa is to extend the classroom learning by focusing on a well-planned research laboratory-based learning for the school students. And I'm sure you have gathered that through our bootcamp today and the one that we did last week. To take this forward, CSIR Jigyasa program has proved a beacon of scientific outreach to schools, aiming to bridge the gap between academic institutions and research organizations. It is not just about educating and inspiring science. It's about making a science a part of your everyday life, igniting curiosity and nurturing a scientific temperament in our standards. Thus, the EPIC Hackathon, which stands for Empowering Pupil Innovation and Creativity, is a testament to CSIR's commitment to fostering a culture of innovation among our students. The ideation of EPIC Hackathon is an inspiration from a sister laboratory, the CSIR IITR, that is the Indian Institute of Toxicological Research, Lucknow, who has initiated a similar competition in 2017 with a small group of students. And these students were mentored by the IITR scientists, and the mentoring resulted in transforming ideas into ideal prototypes. Few even led to products. The model was proved highly inspiring to the students, and hence CSIR ideated the CSIR EPIC Hackathon in collaboration with all the CSIR laboratories, which is before you today. The school students are encouraged to participate in this national event to see the transformation of their innovative ideas into prototypes or products, maybe even technologies, and quite possible that they may end up as young entrepreneurs. The EPIC Hackathon is not just about coding technological solutions, it is about celebrating creativity in all its form. It is an invitation to students to become active participants in the scientific and technological landscape, urging them to apply the knowledge to solve real-world challenges. In a world that is constantly evolving, this hackathon is a platform for students to showcase their adaptability, resilience, and most importantly, the innovative spirit. I would like to say what Dr. Pooja has covered, the clean and green energy. So we have got several themes listed on our virtual lab platform, which you may like to see. The clean energy harvesting and storage, where we confront the global imperative transition renewable energy sources, and we seek your ingenious ideas on how to capture and store renewable energy efficiently. The energy utilization and management. So efficient energy utilization and management will allow you to explore and optimize the energy consumption across various settings, whether it is home, school, residential, or commercial sectors. How we can use these energy more judiciously. Students, your innovations would span from smart energy management systems to novel knowledge technologies that minimize energy wastage. By addressing these aspects, your contributions can significantly enhance the sustainability of our energy practices. Lastly, the waste to wealth or waste to energy. How can we harness the power of the sun, the wind, the renewable resources with greater efficacy? What groundbreaking storage solutions can we develop, to ensure a consistent and reliable supply of clean energy? So you please go through that, our virtual lab platform, and please go through the registration processes and the submission processes. I will just share with you a PPT, which will be a kind of a video which you can see what all options you can click and what all you can, do for the submissions. It's just a half a minute video. Please allow me to share it with you, students. Just a minute. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you could see it, is it? I thought maybe you could not see it. Can you see the PPT presentation? Now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just
make it
running.
slideshow, ma'am.
I will do that. Yeah.
Ma'am, please click.
Ma'am, please.
Yeah, so I think that's it. Thank you, students, for watching it, and I'm sure that you will start your submissions soon. I'm very grateful to HRDG and their team for coming up with this video, which is very self-explanatory, and you can please go there on the website. And as you saw that the hackathon is open for students of 7th to 12th grade students, and we have 2 themes, clean and green energy, and one on One Health. Students who have innovative ideas and themes are encouraged to register and participate. And the last day to register is 5th of Feb 2024. Only top 100 students will be selected who will get an opportunity to develop and enhance their idea under the mentorship of CSIR scientists in a CSIR laboratory. So this is your golden chance. Now you will wonder how to register, and that is already before you. We have explained everything to you. All you have to do is listen to the boot camps for problem statements and ideas and meet the scientists, be in the top 100 submissions, avail summer internships in the CSIR laboratory, which you were already waiting for. And I myself and all the laboratories have received lots of queries that you want to join us and be with us in our laboratories and do research. So we welcome you through this initiative. So I invite all enthusiastic students to join us in this exciting journey of ideation, scientific exploration and innovation. So thank you, students. Thank you, all the speakers. Thank you, Rena. Thank you, Tarun. Thank you, Dr. Sridhar. And thank you, Dr. Geeta Vani. All of you have made this possible, that today our students will see and visit a laboratory not only for, attending the talks, but they can also come and work with us. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now with this, we end today's session. So I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.